Just as a recap, where we left off at the first recording for Chapter 9, we were looking at the retina. Within the retina, there's approximately 250 million photoreceptors. The photoreceptors respond to light by generating electrical signals. We talked about the two different types, the rods and the cones. The rods are responsible for black and white vision, while the cones are responsible for color vision. The fovea was the region located on the retina where there's the greatest concentration of rods and cones, so objects are focused here for sharp vision. The optic nerve is the nerve that carries the visual information from the eye to the brain to be interpreted. Our blind spot, that's the region where the optic nerve leaves the retina, traveling to the brain. In the blind spot, the retina lacks photoreceptors, thus no vision is seen in the blind spot. Typically, one's not aware of the blind spot due to the involuntary eye movement, where we constantly move the position of the retina, allowing the brain to kind of fill in this missing parts, that visual information. But the blind spot is where the optic nerve actually leaves the eye, traveling to the brain. There are fluid-filled chambers of the eye. There's a posterior chamber and an anterior chamber. In the posterior chamber, it's located between the lens and the retina. It contains vitreous humor, which is a jelly-like fluid that prevents the eye from collapsing and holds the retina against the wall of the eye. The vitreous humor is only produced during embryonic development, and it's never replaced. In the anterior chamber, it's located between the cornea and the lens. There's a fluid called aqueous humor. It's a watery fluid. It's continuously replaced. It supplies nutrients and oxygen to the cornea and lens, as well as carries away the metabolic rates. It's replaced bit by bit about every 90 minutes. It's produced from the ciliary body capillaries and drains into the blood through the network of channels surrounding the eye. This aqueous humor creates pressure, also helping to maintain the eye shape. And so this is just an image of the eye. We see the optic nerve leaving the retina at the back of the eye, and that optic disc, or that blind spot where there are no photoreceptors, the fovea at the middle top. That's the region of the eye where there's the greatest number of rods and cones, and objects are focused there for sharp vision. Glaucoma is the second leading cause of blindness, and it results when drainage of the aqueous humor is blocked. This allows pressure within the eye to reach dangerous levels. The blood vessels supplying the optic nerve and retina collapse and cells die. It's progressive and painless. Late signs of glaucoma include blurred vision, headaches, seeing halos around objects. Some individuals may even have no symptoms before vision is lost. Sharp vision requires that light be focused on the retina. Light is bent at 4 points when it enters the eye: the cornea, the aqueous humor, the lens, and the vitreous humor. Because of the way the curved cornea bends the light rays, the image is upside down and backward. The cornea is fixed, so it always bends lights to the same degree and cannot make adjustments to focus on objects at varying distances. The lens is elastic and can change shape to focus on near and distant objects. The lens, it's transparent behind the iris. It is elastic and can change shape. It changes in shape or controlled by the ciliary muscle, the ciliary body, that allows focus on certain objects at different distances. Because the ciliary muscle is circular, its diameter becomes smaller when it contracts. Contraction releases the tension, allowing focus on nearby objects. Relaxation increases tension on the lens to allow it to flatten and focus on distant objects on the retina. Accommodation is a term used to describe the changing the shape of the lens to change of the bending of the light. Cataract is the leading cause of blindness worldwide. It's caused by a lens that's become cloudy, usually due to aging. It's the most common eye problem of men and women over 50. Cigarette smoking can lead to cataracts, as well as bright light, ultraviolet radiation. So it's recommended to wear sunglasses in bright light. Cataract surgery, of course, can replace these clouded lenses with an artificial one. And so this shows how the contraction of those ciliary muscles allow us to focus on distant or nearby objects. And so it shows where when they're contracted, the ligaments are loosened because that ciliary muscle is circular, and the lens become rounded. Whereas when the ciliary muscles relax, the ligaments to lens stretch, and that lens will flatten. Focusing problems. Farsightedness. Pardon me. Farsightedness is a term used to describe people that have difficulty seeing close. Farsighted individuals wearing corrective lenses would have a convex lens. Nearsightedness describes individuals that have difficulty seeing distant, and their lens would be concave. Farsightedness affects approximately 60% of Americans. The lenses are thicker in the middle than at the edges, so they cause the light rays to converge and focus on the retina. Nearsightedness affects about 30% of Americans. The concave lenses are thinner in the middle than at the edges. Close reading or computer work cause that ciliary muscle contraction and increased eye pressure. So recommendations by eye specialists are to look away at frequent intervals. Astigmatism is just asymmetrical light bending. Causes include discrepancies in the thickness or the curvature of the lens or the shape of the eyeball. Normal vision can be restored with corrective lenses, either eyeglasses or LASIK surgery or contact lens. And so this has the breakdown where farsighted individuals see distant objects more clearly than nearby objects, so they have difficulty seeing close, and they would have convex lens. Nearsighted individuals have difficulty seeing distant. They see up close easier, and they would have concave lens. And again, this is just a breakdown that shows the difference between normal eye, farsightedness, the convex lens, nearsighted, and astigmatism that you can review further in your textbook. The main steps in vision include that the light is going to be focused on the retina, causes changes in the photopigment molecules within the photoreceptors to split apart. The photoreceptors release less inhibitory neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters normally inhibit the cells involved in processing information, so light increases the activity of these cells. Opsin is a protein. It's going to bind with retinol to absorb light. The activity of the cells processing visual information is going to increase. This electrical information from the rods and cones is going to be sent to bipolar cells and then to ganglia cells, and these signals from the retina are going to travel via the optic nerve to the thalamus and then to the visual cortex in the occipital lobe, where the perception of the world is going to occur. And this shows the light coming in, being focused at the back on the retina, and information traveling via the optic nerve to the brain. This shows the ganglia, the bipolar cells it was talking about. You see the rods, the cones listed, light coming in, and it's going to bounce backwards, so it's going to be focused back, and information travel via the optic nerve. So it's going to come all the way back to the back and be focused out via the optic nerve. Another image, light coming in, focused on the retina via the optic nerve to the thalamus, the visual cortex, to the occipital lobe. Rods and cones are the two types, as we previously spoke of photoreceptors responding to light and sending neural messages to the brains. The rods are more numerous than cones and allow vision in dim light and pale moonlight. They're responsible for black and white vision, contain the pigment rhodopsin, which is broken down in bright light. It triggers events that reduce membrane permeability to sodium. Rhodopsin is synthesized in the dark. We all experience this is when we walk into a dark room from a brightly lit outside, that it takes a moment for that rhodopsin pigment to resynthesize so that the vision becomes sharper. For a moment we have that black image. Cones, as discussed earlier, are responsible for color vision, and there's three types: red, blue, and green. The red, blue, and green are going to be, like all colors, determined by the length of wavelength. These are going to produce sharp images. A reduced number or lack of one type of cone results in color blindness, typically more prominent in males because it's an X-linked recessive. This is just an image showing the different cones functioning color vision. Again, rods function in black and white vision, dim light. People who are not colorblind can see the number 12. A person who is colorblind cannot see the number. If a person were colorblind, if they lacked red cones, they would see the number 12 as black. If they lacked green cones, they could see deep reds, but they couldn't distinguish between the reds, oranges, and yellows. The absence of blue cones is very rare. People who are colorblind are able to function normally. They have cues such as shape or intensity. They learn how to organize their clothes so that they don't end up with a navy blue sock and a black sock. In order to hear, the ear collects and amplifies sound waves, and these sound waves are produced by vibrations. The loudness of a sound is determined by the amplification of the sound wave, the change in the oscillating frequencies. The pitch of a sound is determined by the frequency of the sound waves, by the number.